Hello friends, and welcome to this crochet tutorial where I'm going to show you how to make the Highland Cow plushie pillow. It's nice and soft, made with blanket yarn, and it has its own little set of hair that Highland cows have. We also accent it with a little daisy on the top. We use some yarn that has different textures to add a little bit of definition and some character to it. He has his own set of ears and some horns up here. So come join me and we're going to take this journey on making this Highland Cow plushie pillow. So let's begin. The materials and tools that we're going to use to make this Highland Cow, we'll use our Bernat baby blanket. This color is baby blue-green. For the applique in the front at the belly, we're using Bernat Casa in a white. For the hair, we're using Hometown in the color of peacock. For the shamrock, I found some Red Heart Super Saver in the color of ombre of spearmint. We'll use the darker green from it, because most of these are in the teal colors. The horn will be in tan, outlining will be in black, the daisy and the nose will be in white, the center of the daisy will be in gold. The hook for the worsted weight yarn will be a 5mm. The hook used for the plushie yarn or the blanket yarn will be an 8mm. We will also use a stitch marker and a pair of scissors. We will also be using a large amount of polyester stuffing, not 50 ounces, but I wanted to show you what the bag would look like if you purchased it at the store. You can also buy this online. We will also be using 30mm safety eyes. And here's the backing. Now if you choose to use felt eyes, you will also need hot glue. So I'm going to be pulling my yarn out from the center of the skein. Sometimes it takes a little while to find it. Once you do find it, don't be surprised if you have a frog of the yarn that you have to detangle. So let's find the center of our yarn and go ahead and pull it out of the skein. Oh my goodness, look at that, it's right here. And let's pull out enough so that our yarn will not ever have a tension issue. So pull out a small amount to begin with, and let's place a slip knot on our hook. We're going to leave a short tail. We're starting at the very bottom of our plushie here. So I made an X. I'm going to take my hook and go under that circle, pull the working yarn through, and then tighten that loop on our working yarn. So after we have our slip knot on our hook, let's start with a chain of 11. So here's 1, 2, 3. Continue on till you have 11 chains. So after we have our 11 chains, I like to point out to you the best way that I feel will help keep your stuffing in when you work around a chain. On the back, we know that there's the center back loops. If you turn it to the front, you can see the V. Sometimes people like to pull up one or pull up the center back loop with one. I have found that if you use the back loop, because we're going to be working on both sides of our chain, this will help pull everything together and make it just a little bit tighter. So we're going to start in our second chain from the hook. We do not count the first one on the chain. So our first completed chain is right here. Our second one is here. Here is our center back bump. Some people call it the back hump or back bump. Either way, we have it. Okay, so in our first hump, let's place 1 single crochet, and then we're going to add our stitch marker. I will add a stitch marker at the beginning of each row. I will not remind you, but you will see me placing the stitch marker in there. I encourage you to place the stitch marker on the first row when we start new rows, and I will tell you when that will be. Now in the same stitch, let's add 1 more single crochet. So we're going to go down the chain using the back bumps. We're going to add 8 single crochet. You will stop 1 stitch shy of the end. So let's go ahead and start doing that. Take your time. I know in this plushie yarn it's sometimes kind of hard to find that back bump, but take your time. The rest will be a little bit easier, I hope, for you. For me, it was. I'm not an amigurumi specialist. I just started amigurumi in the last 2 or 3 years, and I've picked up a lot of tricks along the way. So continue on until you have the 8 single crochets, and I'll meet you there. Every time I say meet you there, let's just go ahead and pause our video. All right, in our last stitch, we're going to place 3 single crochet. So since we're going around the slip knot here, I'm going to show you how I do it to help hide that slip knot. So we place 2 on the front side. Let's find that back bump. I guess because it's the first one, it's kind of hard to find. There we go. All right. So here's 1, 2. Okay. So I'd like for you to take your slip knot with the tail and bring it towards the back of your work. So we're going to take our working yarn, and after we insert the hook, we want to make sure that the working yarn is on the left side of the knot, the slip knot. Pull up a loop and finish your single crochet. You'll find that that knot kind of disappeared into the back, so it's not up on the top. We're going to go down this side where we are going to place 10 single crochet to the end of the row. So go ahead and into our next stitch. This is where you will pick up both sides of the chain and continue with your single crochet to the end of the row. When you are completed with this row, you should have, I forgot to write the number down in my instructions. I'll meet you there. All right, you should have 23 stitches on this. Just moving on to row 2. I'm going to place 3 single crochet into that first stitch. So here's 1. Two and 3. In the next stitch, we're going to place 2. 1, 2. 9 single crochet down the row, continue on with the 9, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. In our next stitch, 2 single crochet, the next stitch, 3 single crochet, this helps shape our corner, and into the next stitch, 2 single crochet. Down this side, we're going to do 8 single crochet, and then in the very last stitch, this one right here, we'll do 2 single crochet. I'll meet you there. In our first stitch, 2 single crochet. Over the next 4 stitches, place 2 single crochet per stitch. Okay, so from our start around, we've added 10 single crochets. Now going down the side here, 9 single crochets, and I'll meet you there. Over the next 6 stitches, 2 single crochet each stitch. So we're going to be adding on 12 stitches here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'll meet you there. Going down this side here, 10 single crochets, and in the last stitch, 2 single crochets. I'll meet you there. Over the next 3 stitches, we're going to place 1 single crochet per stitch. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Into our next stitch, 2 single crochet. Over the next 3 stitches, 1 single crochet per stitch. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochet. Okay, so now we're on the other side. 12 single crochet, and I will meet you there. Please pause your video. In our first stitch, 2 single crochet. Over the next 3 stitches, 1 single crochet each. 1, 2, and 3. In our next stitch, 2 single crochet, 3 single, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 into our next stitch. 1, 2. And coming down this edge, 13 single crochet, and then 2 into the last of the row. Please pause your video. Okay, so for our next row, we're just going to do single crochet, 1 per stitch all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of that row. It's getting bigger, isn't it? Alrighty, so into our next stitch, we're going to place 2 single crochet. Okay, over the next 2 stitches, 1 single crochet per stitch. So this is what we're going to do. Normally, because this is mostly for beginners, when you say 2 single crochet in 1 stitch, it's known as an increase. But to make it easier, I just say 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So this is our repeat. 2 single crochet or increase, then 2 single crochet, which will mean 1 per stitch. We're going to repeat this sequence right here a total of 4 times. So here's the first sequence. I'm going to go with you on this. So into our next stitch will be our increase of 2 single crochet. Then over the next 2 stitches, a single and a single. So we've completed our repeat 2 times, 1 and 2. Let's do it 2 more times. So here's our increase. We want a 1 and 1. Whoops, I'm almost out of camera range, aren't I? Sorry about that. And here's our second, or our fourth, because we already did the half, so we're doing the second half. So here's 3. Now this begins number 4, so let's do 2 singles. Okay, so that took us over the whole curve of the end here. Now we're going to go down this side and place 12 single crochet before our next curve starts. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you there. Alright, and we're going to do the same thing like we did on this first side. 2 single crochet in the same stitch, and then 1 and 1. You want to repeat that a total of 4 times. So I'll meet you over here. We're in the last stretch. Okay, so 12 single crochet, and in the very last stitch, 2 single crochet. Please pause your video. Alright, so it's kind of important on this step because we want it to have the balance. So double check your stitches. Make sure you have 58 single crochets all the way around. Once you have that, we'll be ready to move on to the next row. So did you have 58? Okay, so we're going to make back post single crochets, but to make it so that the chain stitch gives a continuous run without skipping up a row, I'm going to show you a little secret on how to make this chain look the same all the way around. So I would like for you to enlarge the loop that's on your hook and take your hook out. Our very next stitch that has our stitch marker in, we can go ahead and take that stitch marker out. So place your hook in from the back side to the front. Put the loop onto your hook. Snug it up just a little to like your regular tension, and then go ahead and pull that through the stitch there, okay? And then we'll go ahead and snug it up and readjust it. Now you'll notice that your yarn is going to be on the top. So what we want to do is just take the hook and come on top of that to bring it to the back. Okay, so you can see how our chain stitch now has like a continuous look. Okay, so let's open this up just a little bit so you know where your stitch is going to go in next. Okay, so if you have to, stick your finger through there if you can, or if you have to, put your stitch marker back in. It's not going to be in that spot, but it's going to be in that area. Okay, so we're going to chain 1. We want you to snug up on that chain just a little bit so that it's not big. Now the back loop, forget what I just said. The back post, we're going to come in through the back. So we're going to come in where I had my finger, and we're going to go across that single crochet post right here to make it so that the hook comes out in the back. When you do that, you'll notice that the single crochet part of the stitch is going to drop down, and just this little tiny amount is going to show. That is where we want our next single crochet to be as we start to build ourselves up. So yarn over the hook, bring it through to the front, and then to the back again. Make the tension so that it's a regular single crochet, not too tight, because then it won't do like it's supposed to do. And then yarn over and through both loops on the hook. Okay, what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that it forms like a 90-degree angle. So we're going to go from the bottom straight up to the sides. You'll see after you go ahead and finish this row and start a second row, you'll see the difference. Okay, so to do our second one, this is the next post. So we want to come out on one side, go across the front of it, and out through the other side to the back. We're going to yarn over our hook, pull it through the front, and then go to the back, and then adjust your tension again and yarn over through both loops on the hook. Now I know because of plush yarn it kind of takes away the chain stitch, but you can still kind of see the chain stitch showing up here. It'll show up more as we go along. So let's pick up the pace a little bit. Through one side, across the front post of the next stitch, to the back, yarn over, come in through the front, back to the back, adjust your tension, and tighten it up. Okay? Okay. Well, one thing I forgot to do, let's go back to the very beginning we had right here. Here's where you can see the difference. Let's go ahead and place that stitch marker into that first stitch. There we go. Okay. And you see how the chain still looks like it's all one? Okay, so let's continue on. Go all the way around until you have 58 single crochets. Be sure to double check your count as we get up to the end of the row. Okay, and I'll meet you there. Now I hope it didn't take very long for you to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and count to make sure that I have 58 stitches before I move on. Counting is very important in crochet, so it doesn't hurt to double check. Of course, here I have 57. Never fails. Okay, so let's go ahead and go around that last one. Yeah, likes to play games. So let's see if we can squeeze it in. There we go. Okay, so there's my number 58. And so you notice how it's starting to curve up just a little bit, give you that 90-degree angle here. And you see the nice little chain finish. Okay, so where our stitch marker is for that first stitch of this back post row, let's go ahead and add our first single crochet. Alrighty, so for the next 15 rows, this will be row 1. We're going to single crochet 58 stitches every row for 15 rows. So let's go 15 rows at 58 stitches per row, and I'll see you there. Should be up out of the camera range. So please pause your video, be sure to get up and stretch your legs, get something to drink, and I'll see you when you've completed that. Well, it takes a little while to get 15 rows in, doesn't it? Okay, so here's my stitch marker. We counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's row 15, and this is the back part because we are doing a spiral. Now you'll notice how I have this folded. The center bottom, fold it down, laid it flat. What we're going to do is we're going to single crochet up to 1 space before this fold. This fold will cover 2, and this is where our new stitch placement will begin. What we're going to be doing is relocating our stitch marker for our new beginning. So we're probably going to do 8-10 stitches. Okay, so I got it folded. Let me do 2 more here. Okay, so you can see how I still have the 2 stitches available right here. So let's redo our stitch marker. But before we place it, we're going to do a decrease. Now, because this is blanket yarn and it's kind of thick, some people do an invisible decrease. I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together, which is a decrease. So to do that, I'm going to start a single crochet and then immediately go into the next stitch and pull up a loop as well. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and through all 3. Now how you can tell this is 1 stitch is because of the chain on the top. We've taken 2 stitch places and turned it into 1, and that's how we have our decrease. So we're going to continue on with our single crochet. We're going to go 27 stitches across to the other side. When you completed the 27 stitches, you will do a decrease just like I showed you, and then 27 stitches again. But before we move on, you want to replace your stitch marker right here at the decrease. That's going to be the beginning of our new row from now on. Will be on the side. Okay, so we got our decrease, 27, decrease, and 27. Complete that, and I'll see you in just a minute. So please pause your video. This is row 24. So what we're going to do is 6 single crochets and 1 decrease. That is our repeat. We'll do it 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and our decrease. All right, repeat that all the way around. At the end of the row, we should have 49 stitches. For row 25 and row 26, we're going to do single crochet. Each row will have 49 single crochets. So after the completion of those 2 rows, we're going to go ahead and fold it back the way we had it before. With our safety eyes, this is row 26 and here's row 25. We want to go in between row 25 and 24. So once you find the center, what I do is I take it, fold it in half, place my finger about where the center is, and then I'm going to guess at where I want to, let's see, 26, 25, 24. So I'm going to guess at where I want to place my eyes to where I think it'll be cute or whatever you want it. You can have them close together. You can have them far apart. Whatever you choose to do to give your cow personality. So I'm going to place mine right here. It looks like it's about centered, I guess, here. No. Let's come over one more. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, I guess. It looks kind of centered. You think? Because we got this decreases here. I think it looks centered. Okay, so I'm going to place mine right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open between them. And to place the safety backing on, take the hump end up, place your thumbs on both, fingers on the front, and push. Push it all the way down. Okay, let's do the same to the other side. I got my thumbs on the back, my fingers on the front, and just squeeze it together. And there we go. So for our next row, we're going to do 5 single crochets and 1 decrease all the way around. At the end of that row, you should have 42 stitches. So for our next row, we're going to single crochet around with 42 single crochets. For row 29, 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around. At the end of the row, you will have 35 single crochet. As you can see, we're getting closer and closer to the top. We're not going to start stuffing just yet. Our next row will be just straight single crochet of 35 stitches. So this row we're going to decrease again. We'll start with 3 single crochets and 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around. At the end of the row, you should have 28 stitches. So you ready to start stuffing our little cow here? So what I'm going to do before I start stuffing is I'm going to go ahead and enlarge the loop and remove my hook. Go ahead and open it up. And can you hear my stuffing bag? Go ahead and start putting amounts of stuffing in here. Try not to make too big of a clump, and try not to clump it all in just one area. Stuff it up till you have about 1 inch from the top, and then we'll start on our next row. We only have 3 rows left, and then we're completed with the body of our cow. So before we move on to our next crocheted row, I want to show you a little secret that I do. You know, nothing is shaped right now. So what I'm going to do is I will take my hands and separate so that I have a hole opening in the center. What I mean is I'm pushing the stuffing to the side. You'll find that this will help give you a nice, smoother finish. Okay, now right here I can see that I have an uneven area right here. So I obviously will either stuff a little more using my hand to push what I have pushed out down so I have more of a smoother side. And I can see it here on the other side too. So when you bring it in and you find that you've brought a lot of clumps in, you can still work them out. So try this method. I know a lot of people have ways that they do it, but stick your hand in the center and just start shaping it that way. That way also too, when we get to the very top, the only last bit amount that we're going to be sticking in is right here in the very center hole that we've created. So go ahead and play with that for a little bit. Also remember to keep your stuffing a little bit away from the edge of where your stitching is. The reason why is because when you start to crochet, you might accidentally start grabbing some of these looser fibers, and we really don't want that in our stitching. So go ahead and do that. Play with it a little bit till you get the texture, the smooth texture feeling that you're looking for, and then we will move on. I have to chuckle a little bit. It looks like an open-mouthed fish, doesn't it? Anyway, let's get back to our crocheting of our cow. Our next row will be 2 single crochets and 1 decrease all the way around. For those counting, we had 21 stitches completed here. So our next row will be 1 single crochet and 1 decrease. I think the hole is still big enough, so we don't really need to start much stuffing yet. So let's go ahead and do our next row, and then we'll decide if we need to stuff it some more before our final row. So 1 single crochet, 1 decrease all the way around. At the end of the row, you should have 14 stitches. So we are going to be hitting the last row, which will really have a small hole. Go ahead and stuff as much as you can. After you do that, the last row is 7 decreases. So the 14 stitches here, we're going to have 7 decreases. So go ahead and, like I said, stuff as much as you can. And at the end, remember, we'll have a little bit right here in the center so that we can push it. So stuff it and then open it from the center out. So you can see that we still have a nice little hole, good for stuffing some more. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little length of tail, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it. Take that tail and pull it through our last stitch. Okay, and that finishes the crochet for the body. So we can go ahead and spread this open just a little bit more, add a little bit more stuffing, and I'm going to show you how to close this hole. Bring out your tapestry needle, and we're going to place it. Let me show you how to do that. Place it on our needle. So to do that, let me move this out of the way. To do that, take your needle and place it between your fingers like this. Bring it up halfway and pinch it the width of the needle. Pull the needle out and then work those fibers in. Sometimes if you try to use it on the end, because this is a very loose, it's just cut fibers on a thread, it might come undone. So try this method. But now that we have our needle threaded, go ahead and stick it in here somewhere and stuff it a little bit more until you get the desire you want. Don't stuff it so much that your stitches start stretching out. but just stuff it till it's firm. So let's go ahead and finish that, and then we'll start on how to close the opening. So going in the same direction that you finished your crochet, we were going clockwise. What we're going to do is we're going to pick up the chain. You have a back loop and a front loop. Pick up the front loop and bring your needle through. Move on to the second one. Okay, and try not to drag your stuffing with it. We're going to do this all the way around. So you should have 7 pickups. You'll probably find, just like I did, my last set of decreases, that chain stitch is elongated a little bit. It's okay. So this is kind of like if we had a magic circle that we started off with, and this will help close it. Okay, all the way around. Now go ahead and pull. The nice thing about this variegate is you can see the light color. We're going to pull, and that'll pull it closed. Okay, a little bit of stuffing came out. Okay, now what I like to do is, because you see this opening here, I like to close it. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go through the center of those decreased stitches all the way around. So it's like going backwards, and we're also going to close off our finishing of the yarn too. So let's go through, kind of like go back in a spiral. You'll find that once you pull it tight, see how all that closes? So I'm going to do that also to close this row that seems to show a little bit when the decreases were there. And then I'm going to go back and go back again, and that'll help lock it in place. So now that I got my stitches closed off, what I mean by locking it in place is I'm going to go over a stitch, because if you go back in the same hole it's going to come undone. So go over a stitch, come under, kind of weave it, going back, okay, go over a stitch, and then we'll do that one more time. Go over the top of a stitch and through the rest. Okay, pull it out. Let's go ahead and cut it. Now this is where you might have to do some shaping. So you can take your needle, put it in, and pull it. So here we have the body of our Highland cow. If you saw my bunny video, we basically used the same one, but for the plushies I changed it a little bit because it was kind of too pointy up here. So alrighty, let's start moving on to the other parts of our Highland cow. So I'm going to start with the front body applique, which is the lower, kind of like an oval opening. And I'm using the Bernat Casa. You'll notice that it has various textures in here, from the blanket yarn to like a fur to a twist, which I think will be kind of cute, a little different instead of the plain old yarn that we have to work with. Now the fun part's going to be finding the center, or I just might go from the outside. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's place a slip knot on our hook, and then we will be on our way. Of course, the center beginning for mine is blanket yarn. How original, huh? So with our slip knot and our 8mm hook, let's chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we're going to skip the first chain, so into the second chain, 1 half double crochet. Now I'm using the back bumps like we did on the body. Half double crochet. Oh, I guess I should have told you about that, huh? For those that are not familiar, a half double crochet is where we yarn over, we insert the hook through that next loop, we bring it back a loop from with the hook. We have 3 on our hook, yarn over through all 3. This is my favorite stitch. To me, it's super simple. Okay, so let's do that again in the second one. Just 1, and then 1 more. Okay, in this last stitch, the last chain, we're going to place 5 half double crochets. So let's place, we always have fun doing this, don't we? I think it's because of all the fuzzies. What do you think? I'm sure you probably already got yours, right? Okay, come on. Where are you? You know, it could be my fingernails pinching all this mess. Here, I'm just going to grab one. There we go. Let's place 2 on this side. Oops, I'm knocking things around now. Okay, remember what we did the first time? We're going to take with our fingers and pull the tail back, so that way we don't have that knot up front. So yarn over on the other side of the slip knot. 1, all in the same space, 2, and 3. So that gave us 5 on this back stitch. Okay, we came down with 3 on this side, so we're going to go 3 on this side. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we have like a little doorway, I guess you could call it. So let's chain 1 and turn our work. In the first 3, we'll do 1 single crochet per stitch. Okay. In the first one of our 5, 2 half double crochets. Okay, and in the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. One half double crochet, in the next 2 stitches, 2 half double crochets each. Let's see, here it is. Three half double crochets and chain 1, and I will meet you there. For row 3, Let's turn our work. 1 half double crochet over the next 3 stitches. Here's 1, 2, and 3. In our first stitch, 2 half double crochet, over the next 2 stitches, 1 half double crochet, our next stitch gets 2 half double crochets, our center top gets 1. So we're going to go into reverse. So 2 half double crochets, two single half double crochets, two half double crochets in the next stitch, and then we have 3 left, so 1, 1, 1, 3 half double crochets. At the end of the row, chain 1, and we'll turn for our next row to begin. I was really hoping that the yarn would have changed by now. I guess I was wrong on that one. Okay, so we're going to start off with our 3 single half double crochets. So here's 1, 2, and 3. And I guess you can see I have my notes here. All right, so in our next stitch, 2 half double crochet. And now we're going to begin a repeat. The repeat is 2 single half double crochet, so 1 in each stitch, and then our increase of 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. Okay, we repeated that 1 time, repeat it 3 more times, and then 3 singles at the end of the row with a chain 1 and turn, and I will meet you there. I'm going to go back on this row. I won't have enough because the yarn is going to change, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dissect the skein, and I'm going to start it with a different texture. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to make a different texture, because after this row we will have 2 rows left. So the stitching is still the same. Well, I gave it a little bit of different texture right here. Of course, this is the wrong side of the work. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. So for row 5, we're going to start off with our 3 half double crochets, 1 per stitch, so 2 in our next stitch, so this time we're going to do pretty much the same repeat. We're going to do half double crochet in the first stitch, half double crochet into the second stitch, and then 2 half double crochets in that following stitch, our increase. Now, if you have a hard time seeing the stitches, basically all you got to do is stick your finger. You can see the stitch openings as well as the stitch post. I kind of like it because it gives it a different texture feeling as well. Wait till we start crocheting the fur yarn, which will be the last row. I know you're going to hate me on that one, right? So we did that one repeat, so let's do it one more time. 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and into our next stitch, our increase. So 2 half double crochets. Over the next 4 stitches, 1 half double crochet. So here's 1. I'm also grabbing some of the fibers from the previous row, which does happen from time to time. There's 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now we're going to repeat. Our repeat was, or is, 2 in the first stitch, so our increase, and 2 singles, or 1 single per stitch. So half double crochet, half double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that again. Increase, 2 singles, okay, and in the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. There we go. 1 and 2. And then we have 3 left. 1, 2, and 3. So we got ourselves a nice little curve here. Can you see it a little bit better? And then we were going to be moving on to row 6. Row 6 is going to be nothing but single crochet. So I am going to change my yarn out to the fur, because this is the reason why I bought this yarn, was for the little bit of creativity that I could add to it. So I'm going to bring it through. I'm going to bring it around. Let's see, this is the front side, so let's bring it around to the back. So the tails in this case are going to be in the front. So I'm going to stitch over the tails, having them in the front. Only a couple of stitches. So we're going to single crochet in every stitch around. And in my case, I've chose the fur. So let's go ahead and single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you at the end. So if you chose to have used the fur from the Casa yarn like I did, you want to leave a long enough tail so that way we can sew only on the fur edge, unless you choose to go along the bottom with it also, which I'll probably do too. You want to leave ample amount of yarn so that way we can stitch all the way around. So here I'm going to cut it right there and pull it through. I think I have about 3 feet extra here. And this is what the front will look like. We're not going to sew it on just yet. I have the shamrock applique that I'm going to be placing on it. And it's easier to place it on here first before, so that way you don't have to find locations for hiding stitches and everything. Now I'm using the Super Saver Ombre from Red Heart because they have the green, the teal green color that I'm looking for, and in this case it's in the center. But what we're going to do is I'm doubling my yarn, so I'm going to be pulling out an ample amount of the green, the dark green that I want, so that way I can go ahead and double my yarn to make this shamrock. So I'll be using 2 and the 5mm hook. So to make our shamrock, we're going to start off with a slip knot and chain of 5. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to slip stitch into the first chain, snug it up, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so originally I'm going to go ahead and pull my tail over on the back side so that we can lock that in first with the knot. We're going to complete a double crochet. So we started off as if we were going to do a half double crochet, but for a double crochet you go through the first 2 loops on your hook and then the second 2 loops. Okay, let's do that one more time. Slide our work over, chain 3, and we're going to slip stitch into the center of our ring. So just go in through the center, pull up a loop, and continue with that loop with the loop on your hook. Okay, and then chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Place 2 double crochets into the center, and chain 3. Slip stitch into the center. Okay, so we have 2 petals so far. Continue with the other 2 and I'll show you how to finish it off. So after you've completed the 4 petals, let's chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And going into those back humps, you can see them clearer now. Let's slip stitch in each of the humps. Okay, let's go ahead and slip stitch to that one that covered to our ring. Okay, let's leave some yarn for stitching. Pull that through. Snug it up. If we turn it over, go ahead and arrange your petals so that they're even to the ring. Let's bring over our center body applique piece, and we're going to be placing it where you choose on here. We're going to use our needle to stitch around and to stitch down the stem. Of course, this is optional, but I plan on putting it on mine. So I loaded the tail onto my needle, and I'm taking the needle and going through the center of the stitches, pulling it around Okay, it's not going to have any tension or anything like that on it. Now this is also on the back side of our shamrock. I have a lot of static electricity going on here because of the heater's turned on. So everything wants to stick to me now. Okay, now to sew this on, kind of get an idea of how you would like it. We're under the center here. Okay, I come up. I'm not going to whip over. I'm going to go right down the stitch here to make it look like it's just sitting on top there. Just enough to hold it in place. Okay. And so the stitching looks like it's kind of blending in, and we're not having overlap. It looks like it's just sitting there. We'll do that all the way around and through our stem. Tie our ends off in the back. So this is what mine looks like on there. And now we're going to go ahead and place it onto our cow here. I'm going to line it up to the center so it looks like that. Then we'll take the yarn, and the same way that we stitched this down is how we're going to stitch this down. We don't want to go over this way. We want to just do a running stitch up and down, and we can use the fur yarn. And if you want, which I'll probably do too, just use the fur yarn to go along the bottom as well. Looking cute, isn't it? Okay, so next thing we're going to move on to are the ears. So to make our ears, we're going to use our 8mm hook again and our body yarn. We're going to start off with a magic circle. And we're going to place 6 single crochets into our magic circle. And pinch the 2. Let's pull our ring closed. So into our first stitch, we're going to do an increase of 2 single crochets. Continue with the increase of 2 per stitch for a total this row of 12. For our next row, 1 single crochet and our increase 2 single crochets. Repeat this around, 1 single crochet and 2 in the next stitch. For our next row, 2 single crochets, and in the third stitch our increase of 2. That'll be our repeat for this row. At the end of the row, do not cut your yarn, enlarge your loop, and we're going to get our second color to do the same thing. Let me show you what that second color is. My second color is the darker teal. This will be the inside of our ear. Go ahead and do the same thing from the magic circle. Increase it by the 2 stitches. 1 increase, 2 increase. When you get that far, I'll meet you there. So at the end of the second color here, we want to place a slip stitch in there. And with a short tail, let's go ahead and cut it. Okay, we have our right side facing us. And with our other one, right here, we're going to flip it so that the right side is facing down. This is our magic circle tail. Let's just roll it up and stick it right there in the center. And then place this on top of the other one. And what we're going to do now is single crochet all around. So what you're going to do is place 1 single crochet in each stitch, join them together, or sandwich them together. Take out my stitch marker here. So here's 1 and here's 1. So 1 per stitch all the way around. When you get to the end of the row, I'll meet you there. So this is what we have. As we have a little poof from the stuffing of the threads underneath. That's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half like this. And I want you to pick up the 2 end stitches, and we're going to go over 4 stitches. Here's 3 and 4. Okay, that'll give our ear a little poof, and this will give it something to sew on to. Leave a long enough tail for sewing it on, and create a second one. So we're going to start on our horns next. We're using the tan, which is double of the worsted weight yarn. So in a magic circle, we want to place 4 single crochet then pull it closed. Don't pull it closed too tight, because we want to get to that first stitch right here. In our first stitch, 1 single crochet. Okay, I'm not going to place a stitch marker just yet. In our second stitch, increase, so we'll have 2 single crochet. In our third stitch, 1 single crochet, and in our fourth stitch, 2 single crochet. Okay, so before we move on, enlarge the loop a little bit, and then try to pull the center through so that the right side is facing outward. So we'll have a little finished edge like that. Okay, so for our third row, I'm going to place a stitch marker to identify it. We'll do 6 single crochets. So for the first one, I'm going to go ahead and mark it. So continue around, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. So for our next row, we're going to do 2 single crochets, so 1 per stitch. We're going to do 2 increases. So the first stitch gets an increase of 2 single crochets, and our second stitch gets 2 single crochets. Okay, and then 1 single crochet per stitch. Our next row will be 8 single crochets. For our next row, we're going to start off with 3 single crochets. So here's 1, 2, and 3. And then over the next 3 stitches, 2 single crochet per stitch. So 3 increases. 1, 2, and 3. Then we have 2 stitches left, so 1 single crochet per stitch. Okay, see how our horn is taking shape already? Little curve here. 2 rows of single crochet. So we'll have 11 around twice. So our next row, we're going to do 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Over the next 3 stitches, we're going to place an increase in each stitch. Okay, we have 3 stitches left, 1 single crochet per stitch. The next row will be 1 row of 1 single crochet per stitch. Moving along. Okay, we're going to do 5 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 increases, 2 single crochet per stitch, okay, and the last set of stitches we have is 5, 1 single crochet per stitch. This is what we have so far. We got a nice little curve. We're going to do one more row of straight single crochet, and I'll meet you there. So at the end of this row, remove our stitch marker, slip stitch into the next stitch, leave a long enough tail for sewing on, and let's make a second one. So the next thing we're going to do is center place our cow right here. And then right here at the center top, we're going to go over a few stitches, and the curve is going to go towards the center. So we're going to place one here, sew about halfway around, stuff it, and finish the rest of the way around. Remember, the curve goes into the center, and we're going to come down here to the other side. After you sew both of those horns on, let's see, what do I do with my ears? All right, the ears are going to come down here at about eye level or just a little bit above. And we're going to sew both of those on. After we sew the horns and the ears on, we're going to attach the hair that'll come right here into the front. So I rotated my camera around, so hi. Okay, so we're going to be using our dark green. I'm going to start with a tail so that we can sew this and weave it in. Place a slip knot on our hook. Oops, sorry about that. We're going to use the 8mm hook. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to start off here to create rows. So we're going to do row 1, row 2, and row 3. It's a really simple thing to do, but we're going to start up here on the top so I can show you what to do. So let's place a slip knot onto the first. The slip knot will basically grab around the post. Okay, and then let's chain 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. You'll notice that our loops will droop down, and as we do each row, it'll come close to covering the eyes, but you know how we can spread it open. We'll go to the next single crochet and place a slip knot and chain 14. We're going to do this across the row, and then we'll just come down here and head this direction, come down here, and this will fill up the face. We will then cut it and come up here, add a couple, and then go to the back and do 3 rows in the back, and then we will be completed on the main. The last thing that we will do will be add our nose with a little bit of embroidery work onto it. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you when we get to that next point. Take your time, don't make your stitches too tight. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, and let's go down to the next row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So here's what our front part looks like after 3 rows. It's all soft and squishy feeling. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over like this, and I'm going to go ahead and do a couple in here, a couple here, 1, 2, and 3, and I'll be finished then with the mane. So we're going to start off with the doubled worsted weight 5mm hook. I'm using white. Let's go ahead and place a magic circle on our hook. And into this magic circle, let's place 10 single crochets. All right, continue until you have 10. So after we have 10, let's go ahead and pull it closed. Not too tight, we just want to close it up. Okay, so in our first stitch, we're going to place 2 single crochets. And as usual, we want to mark our first stitch. In our second and third, 2 single crochets. One single crochet, 1 single crochet. Over the next 3 stitches, we're going to increase, so 2 single crochets per stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. We have 2 stitches left, so we're going to place 1 single crochet per stitch. Okay, let's enlarge our loop, and at this time you can go ahead and pull your magic circle tight. Okay, I dropped my ball on the floor, so I'll be right back. So on to row 2. In our first stitch here, we're going to have an increase, 2 single crochets. Be sure to mark your first one. Over the next 4, we're going to do increases. So we're going to have a total of 5 increases here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's place 2 single crochets per stitch. Okay, let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Over the next 5 stitches, we're going to place an increase in each stitch. Three, 4. Here's our last increase. You should have 3 stitches left. We're going to place 1 single crochet per stitch. Okay, let's remove our stitch marker, and in the next stitch we're going to do a slip stitch. Cut enough tail so we can sew our nose down. We're going to pull the end through. Do not cut the magic circle tail. We'll coil that up and place it behind our nose. Next, you're going to want to grab some black, and we're going to do a little bit of embroidery to have our nose and mouth placed on our nose piece. The black piece I cut is approximately 18 inches long. Let's go ahead and place it onto our needle. Now I'm going to show you how to do a French knot. I think a French knot looks nice, gives it more of a circular look. So we're going to come up here Okay, so we're on the 5th increase right here. Go to the next row down. Okay, so pull it up so you have about a little bit of tail to tie off with. Okay, then we're going to take our yarn, we're going to wrap it around our needle 3 times. Okay, and then we're going to go back down into that same, well, not exactly the same. You want to come over just a little bit. Make sure that yarn stays a little tight on our hook. And go straight down. Hold the knot and the twist that's on it. And here we have our first French knot. Let's go ahead and tie it off. Okay, we're going to just pick up a little stitch here so that the black will go right straight across. Okay, so we want to find the other increased stitch, which is right here. We're going to come right straight down into there. And we're going to do the same thing. So we pulled the yarn up. We're going to take it and wrap it 3 times. Okay, I'm going to go down, not exactly the same hole, come over 1 yarn, and then go straight down. snug up your yarn onto your needle and hold it all down and bring the yarn and everything through. I think I pulled that one just a little too tight, but it'll work. There we go. So here we have 2 French knots. Now I'm going to come back over and I'm going to tie it off again. You don't want it to be loose. Okay, now the next thing we can do, now this is optional, we can make a little line coming down, make it, or we could just pretty much kind of leave it the way it is, I guess. Let's go see what it looks like on our cow. Well, I'm okay with that. I just hope it doesn't look like something else, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn for the black. And with the white, I'm going to put it in location. And then I'm going to stitch it around. But I'm going to stitch it on the inside. So it's kind of like doing a running stitch, kind of like the way we sewed on the applique here. Just so that you can still see the chain stitches. So go ahead and do that, and let's see how yours looks. I'm leaving my snacks in the videos again, aren't I? So, what do you think? You like our little Highland Cow plushie? I love this hair. And it's super soft. You can use it as a pillow if you would like. It's nice and comfy. And I love the textures of that different yarn also. So, thanks for being with me. I thought about putting a daisy in this. I might make a separate video or add it on as a bonus, because I know I included the gold yarn as well. Let me think about it. I'll go ahead and make one up and see how it turns out. But I hope you like this. Now, give me a few minutes after this thank you part and participating with me. I will see about adding the daisy. So, stay tuned. So, to make our daisy, let's start off with a magic circle. I always like to pull the tail out of the center. And into this magic circle, we're going to do a little bit bigger stitch this time. So we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over. Here's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11 and 12. And yes, I did do that, didn't I? Okay, so let's pull this closed and pull it tight. There we go. Do you hear it pull all the way through? Okay, I'd like for you to slip stitch into that first chain, into the first stitch. Let's go ahead and cut this and pull it through. So we have a nice center here. And then we're going to grab our white, add some tail so we can use that to weave it in later. Place a slip knot on your hook. And that stitch that we did the slip knot into, let's pull the tail over. And we're going to, a slip stitch. And then let's do a slip stitch into that first, right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to slip stitch back 6 stitches by using the back hump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is right here. Okay, and you can bring your white to kind of secure that down, and we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, and chain 7. And we're going to repeat this all the way around till we have 12 petals. So you keep going, and then I'll see you when you're finished. It's going to take a little while because of all the slip stitches, but it'll be cool. It'll look nice. And then we'll see how it looks on the cow or whatever else we want to put it on. Okay, I'm going to drop these stitches down and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then chain 7 again. It's kind of cute, isn't it? Okay, so I got my 12 on. What do I do to finish it off? Well, we got our 6th single crochet in, so I'm going to come behind here, pick up these 2 white ones, and complete a single crochet back there. I'm going to leave a tail for sewing on. And then pull it through. It's cute, huh? I like it. A little bit different than I guess your customary daisy, but I like it. Let's see what we can do with it. You remember the story of Ferdinand the bull? Maybe this is Ferdinand the Highland cow. So what I'm going to do is I separated the hair right here, and I put it up against it, and I looked at it, and I thought, it don't look too bad. I might add it. So what we'll do is these back pieces here, we'll just tie them up, put a square knot in them, and then use the white one just to tack it in there. That'll hold it in place. So how I'm going to add this is I'm going to pick up a little piece of the horn like so. So it has a few stitches in between, basically the width of the yellow part. And you come across, find center. You want to bring it up where there's some white at, and then go back down in that same area. Okay, and then I'm going to tie it in a knot in the back, and that'll hold it in place. So we added the flower. I think it looks cute with the flower on it. Gives it a little added color. There's a lot of teal or a lot of shades of green in it. So I hope you enjoyed this crochet tutorial on how to make this Highland Cow plushie pillow. I know I had a good time. So till next time. Bye-bye.